Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Animators.
Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Happy Friday. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I am Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is on the ones and twos, and Oz is with the overalls as well. So we have a couple ones and twosers in the house today, fams.
Yeah, fams. Aren't you excited?
I'm so excited. It looks good. There's no skipping. Everything's working out well. The deep state is not sanctioning us right now. I'm going to start off the show. Yesterday, we did get a couple tips left on our little 7-minute little video there yesterday. But this one is the one that needs to be read, and it's by Mass Line O. And it says, Fee and Johnny, you are loved greatly and make these 10,000s of other viewers you have lives better for it every day, 365 days a year, 24/7, the whole 9 yards. Thank you for being the best REV media collective and organizers in North America. Well, siempre have your backs always. Best of health, prosperity, and political and career success to you and yours and everything that you do. So I just wanted to read that from yesterday, fam, because it was such a really nice comment to you and Johnny. I'm assuming I was a part of that too as well, because whatnot. But yeah, they wanted to show some love, and it could be to the video you made on Monday. Maybe they were showing some love for that too as well. Even on the road, you got out in front of the camera and you gave an updated report on a lot of things going on. And we're going to kind of touch up on some of that stuff and dive into the meat and potatoes of the Pandora papers today and the Facebook whistleblower and all that other good stuff.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to everybody that we're going to do this show right now, that we're going to take a little break. Dr. Peter McCullough will be on with us later today on Rokfin only. We'll also have another section there as we'll talk some COVID boop stuff later on. Remember, anything is just the opinions. There's not medical advice going on over here. We're just pretty much reading from the papers and everything that's out there. So let's just really quickly do some unpacking with some people who left some super rays, because Anna Maris, first in the door. Thank you so much for the Super Ray contribution, Anna Maris. Hey, Fee, feel this one, because it is always appreciated on the couch. Same thing from Bethlehem, Tessa Faye. These people must love you because they know that it is always appreciated on that couch. I can feel your look right through the screen. And then Trey Wright last night, who went and saw the movie Lamb.
It wasn't about what I thought it was. It was great. I saw the trailer. It's crazy. I want to see it.
He sent me the trailer. Let's go see that when we get a chance. That looks like a freaky ass fucking movie. Lamb. He said it was amazing.
Especially for vegans.
I know, right? Oh. And also just want to send some love really quickly to Lucky Burrito. Guys, everybody like, share, get the thumbs up, share this out right now. Lucky Burrito, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, brother. Yesterday, after a long day, after doing a show with Shanda, I did a show with Niko early in the morning. Obviously, we set up to do a show yesterday and didn't get it done. A couple shows the day before that. Another show I had to put together a day before that. It's been a long week, and just listening to you play yesterday just relaxed me. Yeah. Steve Cutler live, not Lucky Burrito and Art. Sorry, Lucky Burrito is the better half, right? Yes. Steve Cutler live. Wow. And please share your links. I love you too, Lucky Burrito. I love you both. You guys are amazing. It was just so relaxing. And Leo. I know, right? Leo, I should have is it Sammy the llama? What's the name of the llama? Pedro. Pedro's upstairs, so is Sammy. They're chilling on out. But man, Steve Cutler, that was so great. Especially loved the popcorn song. Really relaxed me. I needed that yesterday. Thank you so much. Fam. You got a lot of splaining to do.
Right.
And we got to talk about these things.
Yeah, let's get started, fam. Okay, because I know you can talk forever. So we're gonna start with the internet shutdown, right? And the Panama Papers, and which I've concluded after reading everything so far that I've been able to read, which isn't the papers themselves, because that's not being released, that this whole thing is funded by the establishment. We can trace the money ties. It's funded by problematic people like Pierre Omidyar and people like our favorite George Soros And the conglomerate of journalists are mainstream media approved journalists. So all of these events that happened this past week are extremely connected. So let's go ahead and go through it, because, like in the movie B for Vendetta, when he says, I, like God, do not believe in coincidences. I also do not believe in coincidences. So Mid-Press News had a really great breakdown on a tweet when this happened. They said global internet services are down, potentially as a result of cyber attacks in response to the Pandora papers. Facebook is offline. Instagram is down. WhatsApp, Verizon. You guys remember when this happened. Coinbase was also experiencing errors, which was scary for a lot of the Coinbase Bitcoin people. But Facebook, by the way, was down after the release of the Pandora papers and after the whistleblower was testifying. So that was interesting. And Ben Norton put out this tweet where he talks about what I just said, how the Panama Papers, the ICU, right, which is, or the ICIJ, which is the conglomerate of independent and investigative journalists, which left out all the U.S. politicians, is funded by the CIA front Ford Foundation, NATO member Norway, Open Society of Billionaire Soros, longtime CIA asset, big tech oligarch Omidyar, and who is also a close ally of U.S. regime change ops, also works with Amazon. And you guys can see the list right here that Oz has on the screen. I'm not going to go over all of it, but you can see that pretty much all those I mentioned are there. And Ben Norton also said that one of the main groups behind the Pandora papers and Panama papers is the top ICIJ org partner, the OCCRP, which is funded by the U.S. State Department, the USAID, the NED, the EU, the UK, Sweden, Denmark, billionaire Soros, billionaire Omidyar, Ford Foundation, and Rockefeller Brothers. So if you've been paying attention to any of these organizations, you know that these organizations are NGOs and US-backed just nonprofits and, just organizations that usually work on the behalf of the establishment. It's interesting that they're funding a bunch of investigative journalists who found things that really aren't any much different than what we already knew, because we already knew, for instance, that billionaires put money offshore. We already knew that in places like South Dakota and Delaware and certain areas of the United States, businesses can evade taxes. We already knew that the rich pretty much have different rules that apply to them. So all of these things that have been discovered by the Panama Papers, we mostly already knew. And also their focus was on foreigners, foreign investments, foreign interests, nothing really about U.S. politicians that was like heavily involved. And so this was coordinated by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, like I said, where over 600 journalists from around the world, including more than 75 from OCCRP's network, spent 2 years siphoning through nearly 3 terabytes of documents, which seems like a lot of documents. So, Pasta, anything to say on that thus far?
No. I'm just going to let you keep unpacking this, and we'll kind of break it down at the end. I have a lot of things to say, but I'll hold on to that for a second. Go ahead.
All right. So just more on the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, the ICIJ. 2 years ago, Mid-Press had an article written by Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. Alex Rubinstein and Max Blumenthal. Yeah. And I'm going to read a little bit about this because it's important into how this plays in and how we've been really aware, a lot of us paying attention as to how problematic Ryan Grimm's boss is, because Pierre Omidyar is one of the most powerful people that gets constantly overlooked in comparison to, say, somebody like George Soros, right? And he is the eBay founder, best known for his sponsorship of The Intercept, which amazing people work for today. And he described it. They described it in this article as a progressive publication that possesses the classified documents exfiltrated by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. Unlike rival Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel, Jeff Bezos, Eric Schmidt, Omidyar has mostly managed to keep his influential role in the media below the radar. And Samantha Power, the former U.S. ambassador to the UN and a liberal interventionist guru, we know who she is, has praised Omidyar, who is following in the footsteps of Soros, like as if that is a good thing, right?
I know.
He supports this sort of global cartel of self-styled fact-checking groups that determine which outlets are legitimate and which are fake. That part is extremely important because he has so much say into what is considered, true, just, pioneering type of journalism compared to, what he decides is what he has a lot of influence on what it looks like, just like the mainstream media that can decide what is a verifiable journalistic publication and what isn't. He also threw his money behind initiatives like the nonprofit Backing New Knowledge. And this is according to the article, the data firm that waged one of the most devious disinformation campaigns in any recent American election campaign and is a key backer of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism, the ICIJ, the outfit that holds the Panama Papers and oversees the strategic decimation of that leaked trove of financial ties to handpicked journalists. So I want to point that out. He has the Panama Papers. He oversees a lot of these sort of quote unquote leaks, but they're only leaked to the journalists that they handpick specifically for whatever they want. It's not for everybody. And that just shows you, well, wait a minute, shouldn't the public and everybody have access to this? Shouldn't other journalists who, this one particular person doesn't know about also have access to this? They still to this day haven't released The Intercept, all of the documents that Snowden had. And that goes to show you that they're sort of manipulating the information to coordinate with what the establishment wants. I mean, at least that's what I think, because that's if we don't all have access to it, that's what would make sense.
Well, you are right, because that's the playbook. I just want to say you are right. That's what you think. No, that's what you're right, because we can just look at history. That is the playbook. And when they're comparing Pierre Omidyar to a young, up-and-coming Soros, we should just be immediately alarmed and alerted, because the main mechanism of persuasion or propaganda from the stenographers is to make sure that they control the media. The Orange Revolution or the Color Revolution in Ukraine, Soros funded a lot of oppositional media companies to get his narrative out. And that's what they're doing over here. When you say they're handpicked stenographers. They're out there to push the propaganda that they want to push upon us. The only problem is the majority of the people in the mainstream say, look at the important person on television, look where it's coming from, and they listen to it rather than going down this rabbit hole and seeing where the money comes from. Where the money comes from with the Pandora Papers should tell you everything you need to know. Go ahead, Fee.
Exactly. And he did this documentary too, where he was hyping up the journalist, helping expose the Panama Papers. And that just makes me suspect. It's like, why is this billionaire that has so much power specifically hyping up certain journalists? And by the way, in the coverage that we're going to go through, what The Guardian says, they don't mention WikiLeaks at all. They talk about this particular Pandora Papers being the largest dump since the Panama Papers, excluding WikiLeaks. And we know that Julian Assange is still in jail for exposing U.S. war crimes. And so it's kind of telling to me that they're, patting themselves on the back about this release of the Pandora Papers while simultaneously staying completely numb on WikiLeaks and what's happening with Julian Assange, right? So he also, a lot of people, when they saw, The Intercept is owned by this billionaire Pierre Omidyar, they were like, but he's pushing a progressive sort of publication, so let's overlook that. Well, that's how he has kind of made himself out to be, this progressive philanthropreneur. And he has a lot of hold with these different organizations all over the world. Here they mention how his fortune helped found an outlet to propel a destabilizing coup in Ukraine. Pasta and I have about Ukraine. There it is.
Yeah.
He helped also establish a network of oppositional youth activists in Zimbabwe. And in the Philippines, he invested in an oppositional news site that is honing corporate surveillance techniques like a mood meter to capture non-rational reactions. Meanwhile, he partnered closely with the leading arms of U.S. soft power, from the U.S. Agency for International Aid and Development, the USAID, to the National Endowment for Democracy, acting as a conduit for information warfare style projects in countries around the world. So he also began funding the Alliance for Securing Democracy. This was a project of Bill Kristol, and it focused on Russian infiltration of social media, kind of promoting that neo-McCarthyite, Russia is everywhere. And it was called, he funded a new online magazine called The Bulwark, which is basically like a neocon type of magazine where they were promoting U.S. warfare. So if somebody that's so progressive on one end is funding something like The Intercept, right, that supposedly goes and takes on the establishment and gets all these leaks somehow that, where these journalists get, and they're like, look, see, we found that, these billionaires are investing money in this blah, blah, blah. But by the same token, he's funding neocon right-wing type of literature that is propaganda for the U.S. empire. You should probably, kind of hold that to account. And he also had The Intercept, right? And he recruited the journalists who had Snowden's leaks. Therefore, like I said, privatizing the files. Not only did this delay the release, it denied the public access to the information in order to supply his stable of hired reporters with exclusive scoops that continue to appear years after they were leaked. Here it is from the article again. To this day, only a minuscule percentage of the Snowden files have been made public. And for whatever reason, none of those that have been released relate to eBay or its associated business interests.
Yep. Because they cherry-picked it, right? They cherry-picked it. They took the stuff they run out that was benefit for them and left the stuff in that was, you know the game. We know the game. And and the thing is, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say that this system works. We know this from the progressives that we deal with, that you can just come forth and put on a flowery front and say, I'm all about progressive needs, despite what's going on, behind the scenes, and without following the money. People don't do the homework necessary to understand that this is about manipulation, not about reporting actual facts and the news. I'm sorry.
Right. No, and they do this to say, look at what we're investigating. We're holding people to account. Look how bad things are. But they only do surface level. So because if they did the whole thing, then their whole agenda would collapse on itself. Right. And there is
exposing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So they can't do that. So First Look Media is one of the organizations, because if you go through this article, which I think everybody should refresh and read, they talk about all his little organizations and his little projects. One of the organizations, one of the companies he has is called First Look Media. This is the main arm for supporting cutting edge projects produced under his watch, Medhurst's watch. And besides The Intercept, this company funds a documentary division called Field of Vision that has overseen films about high-profile journalists. And I'm going to quote this. Past productions include Risk, a negative portrayal of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange that prompted WikiLeaks lawyers to accuse its director, Laura Poitras, of undermining WikiLeaks, just as the Trump administration has announced that it intends to prosecute its journalists, editors, and associates. A Field of Vision documentary on the Panama Papers function as a PR vehicle for the Omidyar-funded International Consortium of Investigative Journalism that holds documents and features journalists like Luke Harding in its trailer. Harding is the Russia-obsessed Guardian correspondent who frequently fabricated a report on meetings between Assange and the former Trump campaign manager, Paul Manafort. First Look also sponsors the for-profit studio Topic, which is producing another film on the Panama Papers, The Laundromat, starring Meryl Streep and Antonio Banderas. I mean, guys, the connections to Hollywood and to this sort of movie-making propaganda that's it's CIA intelligence. It's exactly what the CIA does.
It's part of the programming. We could do a movie, fam. I'll play Meryl Streep. You play Antonio Banderas. We'll just reverse the roles, and we'll do the laundromat.
You're Meryl Streep, and I'm Antonia Banderas. How about that?
You're Antonia, and I'm Merle. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, yeah, this is all part of it. And you mentioned the CIA. This is where it's coming from. It's one arm working together. That's why, you know, we think about Hollywood. You go back, you look at a lot of movies and you remember the programming. Like, I make that joke all the time, but it was on purpose that the actual, you know, the third Rambo had me rooting for the Mujahideen because it had the Russians as the bad person. And all the video games that portray the Russians as the bad people and stuff. This is just a history of straight up fucking programming of people. Hollywood, the news, the deep state, the military industrial complex, they're all working together to control people in society. We talk about Operation Mockingbird, right? Where the CIA planted people within their media, and now they can almost fucking control the media. And the Pandora paper, if you just look deep down the rabbit hole, you'll see it. They're exposing themselves. And even though these techniques work, we got to make sure that we talk about these things.
Right.
We let people know. We let them understand where it's coming from, where's the money from, because they want to swing you a certain way.
Right. And so that's why we just went over where the funding comes from, and then went over who is Pierre Omidyar, so you understand why that's problematic. And now we're going to go into how the mainstream media has covered, right? Because The Guardian unleashed, they're the ones with the leaks mainly. They're the ones that unleashed a series of articles that you can find on The Guardian that you can read about what the Pandora Papers are. So we're going to go through what they say it is, and now you will understand why this is a big nothing. So this is what they say from The Guardian. Pandora Papers, biggest ever leak of offshore data exposes financial secrets of rich and powerful. So you can see they say millions of documents reveal offshore deals and assets of more than 100 billionaires, 30 world leaders, and 300 public officials. And I'm just going to read a few things here. The secret deals and hidden assets of some of the world's richest and most powerful people have been revealed in the biggest trove of leaked offshore data in history. They expose offshore affairs of 35 world leaders, blah, 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 including presidents, prime minister, and heads of state. They also shine a light on the secret finances of more than 300 other public officials, such as government ministers, judges, mayors, and military generals in more than 90 countries. They disclose about major donors to the Conservative Party, raising difficult questions for Boris Johnson. More than 100 millionaires feature in the leaked data, as well as celebrities, rock stars, and business leaders. Many use shell companies to hold luxury items such as property and yachts, as well as incognito bank accounts. We literally know about this. Bernie Sanders ran on that in 2016. There is even art ranging from looted Cambodian antiquities to paintings by Picasso and murals by Banksy. The Pandora Papers reveal the inner workings of what is a shadow financial world, providing a rare window into the hidden operation of a global offshore economy that enables some of the world's richest people to hide their wealth and in some cases pay little or no tax. Literally, they take what we have been talking about in independent media, about the deep state, about a shadow government, right? About the 1% predator class. It just literally coming together in a sort of, for interest, right? And that all when we say it, they excuse it as conspiracy. They say, oh, you guys are being conspiratorial. You're calling it the deep state. The deep state isn't real. But then The Guardian pretty much comes out and says that same thing in their own, of course, establishment-friendly words, and they act like it's some big revelation. Yeah. Because that's what this is. They're hijacking what a surface level examination of the things we have been uncovering in independent media for decades now, right? People have been doing this work, and they kind of rebrand it as some sort of, oh, look what we're doing. And it's gross. And you can see that now. So this is the quick guide. What are the Pandora Papers for people who don't know what it is, right? They're the largest trove of leaked data exposing tax haven secrecy in history. They provide a rare window into the hidden world of offshore finance. The files were leaked to the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, which shared access with The Guardian, BBC, and other media outlets around the world. The BBC, that continuously smears real journalists like Vanessa Beeley, on the fake Syria chemical attacks that were debunked. In total, the trove consists of 11.9 million files leaked from a total of 14 offshore service providers, totaling 2.94 terabytes of information. That makes it larger in volume than both the Panama Papers in 2016 and the Paradise Papers in 2017. Two previous offshore leaks. Again, notice how they don't mention WikiLeaks at all. Where did the documents come from? The ICIJ, a Washington, D.C. based journalism nonprofit, is not identifying the source of the leaked documents, so they don't have to reveal their source. In order to facilitate a global investigation, the ICIJ gave remote access to the documents to journalists in 117 countries, including reporters at the Washington Post, Le Monde, El País, Süddeutsche Zeitung, PBS Frontline, and the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. In the UK, the investigation has been led by The Guardian and BBC Panorama. So great, reliable, trustful sources, right? That have never lied about anything.
I know it's all about, the empire. It's all about nation building. It's all about, and that's what they're doing right now. They're manufacturing consent. They're telling you who your enemy should be and who you have to look out for. And look at these people, these autocrats, these billionaires. They're raping the whole freaking, world of all the resources when it's themselves, the people who are writing this information, sitting behind the freaking glass going, look, we're the ones they don't want. Don't look at us. Look at them. But it works. It's effective. Because what do you hear people say? Oh, Putin's an autocrat. Oh, Putin's awful. His picture was right on the front there, fam. But he's never mentioned in these fucking papers. It's ridiculous.
He's mentioned, but briefly. Yeah. He's mentioned briefly because they don't have anything.
But like they Kevin Bacon, nothing. Like 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. He knew this person who knew that person who took this money. It's like, get the fuck out of here. And the whole kind of propping him up like he has more money than Bezos or fucking Soros is just beyond crazy.
So then they go into explaining why do people move money offshore? And they do this, right? They say, tax secrecy, regulation, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to take taxes. They don't want to, do this. And then right next to it, they kind of okay it. They say, has everyone named in the Panama Papers done something wrong? No. Moving money offshore is not in or of itself illegal, and there are legitimate reasons why some people do it. Not everyone named in the Pandora Papers is suspected of wrongdoing. That, okay, even though it's factually correct, like technically moving money offshore isn't illegal, that doesn't mean it's not wrong.
Exactly.
And they kind of, they kind of like are like, well, there are multiple reasons. So they're kind of like putting themselves, protecting themselves, right, from really revealing anything nefarious about anybody. And like I said, notice how the vast majority of people involved in this are not any U.S. officials at all. It's all foreigners. And that is an important point.
Yeah, fam, it's only wrong when they do it. When we do it, there could be a reason for it. They manufacture, they set the table so that when they do get caught, well, we told you before, like it's wrong when Putin's friends do it, but when we do it, there's a reason for why we do it. And it's just like the whole inside trading with Nancy Pelosi, right? With her husband buying Tesla stocks and whatnot right before they sign a contract and everything like that. It's technically not against the law, but it doesn't mean that it's not wrong. It's fucking wrong.
Exactly. Another thing they pointed out that we knew is that South Dakota is the U.S. state with most trust identified in the Pandora Papers. Florida, Delaware, Texas, Nevada, Alaska, they kind of come in right after. And this is the part that I wanted to point out, that this trust, right, this whole thing is catering mostly to non-U.S. citizens. So it's not us. Analysis by the Independent Consortium of Investigative Journalists linked the trust to individuals in 40 different countries outside of the U.S. 28 of the trusts appeared to be linked to individuals or companies accused of misconduct overseas, according to the ICIJ and the Washington Post. Money laundering allegations in South Dakota. Trust firms have acted are a Colombian textile. So then they go into talking about Colombia. They talk about the Dominican Republic. They talk about just different countries. And they're like, oh, this is where the majority of the corruption comes from, not the United States.
Yeah, right.
And then, Pasta, They go into Putin. They
Here we
have
go.
this whole thing about Putin, okay? And here it is. The Russian president, Vladimir Putin, whom the U.S. suspects of having a secret fortune, does not appear in the files by name. But numerous close associates do, including his best friend from childhood, the late Peter Kolbin, whom critics have called a wallet for Putin's own wealth, and a woman the Russian leader was allegedly once romantically involved with. None responded to invitations to comment. Literally on NPR, they spent like an hour talking about Putin's lover, Svetlana, which is my Russian
Supposedly.
name. Yeah.
Supposedly. Like, not even like tight clause that they know that he's his lover. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy.
They put him on the front cover, like you said, like this is going to be about him, and they found some juicy shit on Putin when they're like, he's not even mentioned at all in the files, but his friends are, his lover is. So let's make a story out of that. That's their whole that's what they're centering this whole thing about on Boris Johnson, Putin, and any other foreigner. They're not really talking about any American involved. And again, where are the documents? When WikiLeaks releases documents, they release the literal documents for everybody to see. What the Intercept and these people do at the ICIJ, they keep it.
Yeah.
And they hoard it, and they only release what they want people to see.
Exactly. Only things that fit their narrative, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's not a fucking leak. Don't call it that. It's not a real leak. A leak is just a leak with all the documents there left to the interpretation of the reader. Straight up documentation. That's a fucking leak. What they're doing is they're spinning their own narratives. So this is from the AP. The Kremlin hasn't seen anything extraordinary in the Pandora Papers' revelations about Russia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Monday. Peskov described the findings as a set of rather unfounded statements that raise questions whether the information can be trusted. I'm with this guy, Dmitry. If there are any serious publications that are based on something that cites something specific, we will look into them with interest. At this point, we don't see a reason to. Hello? There's nothing like specific about Putin at all. Like, it's literally bullshit. And it's just funny. And this is what The Guardian writes. This is what they lead their story with. Look, Pandora Papers reveal hidden riches of Putin's inner circle. That's like their main storyline, which is hilarious to me. But that's what they're leading with, right? And then The Guardian leads with a title. Oh, this is breaking news. Pandora Papers prove that the rich live by different rules. Well, no shit. Like, we know this. We know this. Thank you for confirming what we already knew. And this is what you wanted to mention too, right? Because they do mention Jordan as well.
Yes. Well, because they mentioned King Hussein in these Pandora Papers, right? And his picture was actually on the cover with one of the Putin people, whatnot. And it's just a signal. It's what you know exactly where these Pandora Papers are coming from, because they're letting people know. Jordan fully reopens the main crossing with Syria. So now Jordan, Lebanon, parts of Lebanon, they're like, listen, we can't deal with your regime change thing anymore. Assad is their leader. We need to start doing trading with them. We need to start opening borders. And that pisses off NATO, the military industrial complex, the intelligence. So they're like, okay, really? So they put you on notice by naming you in these papers. King Hussein, just the same name as his father. He's the son of, they've had tight allies with America. In fact, in that last year, when they had that money released in December, I think, when the Congress signed all money for here, there, I think they were giving money to Jordan to build a wall to keep migrants out from Syria coming in, from, because of the whole war situation. So they've always had their hand out. They've always been an ally. But in this particular situation, here comes the king going, listen, enough with your bullshit. We have to start making relationships with our neighbors again. Assad is their leader. That is that. Boom. He's mentioned in the papers. Why? Specifically because he defied U.S. intelligence interest and the empire. That's why. And that's what they fucking do. This is all about empire, these papers. These are all about letting you know who they're going after and who they don't like. That's how we should take it. Not as these people are being evil and taking all the resources, whatnot. They're trying to corral everybody for their future invasions and future regime change.
Exactly. And there will be like, they have to take some people into account, people that, are publicly disliked, like Boris Johnson and, and Putin, that are easily disliked by Americans. And they have to pretend like, look, see, we're exposing these people. They're so terrible. But like, they never point the finger within like the confines of the empire. It's always somebody else. And they twist information and they only release the first layer of the information, so you don't get to see everything else. So that was that section, fam. Let's read some super rays if you like.
Great section. Thank you so much. We already said hi to Anna Maris, Bethlehem, Tessafe. We love you. Margaret Bow, thank you for the super ray contribution. It is always appreciated. On the couch, Kristen Nye is here today. Hey, Kristen, good to see you again. Amy Klobuchar thanked the Facebook whistleblower for her bravery, because Amy Klobuchar is a hack, right? She is 100%. It disgusts me to see people glorifying this Facebook whistleblower, just like they glorified the same guy who leaked the Ukrainian call. These are not whistleblowers. These are team players playing team sports, plain and simple. Do panic? Yes. Thank you for the super ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. And David Asper, thank you for the super ray contribution. It is also always appreciated on the couch. 200 people on YouTube's 64 on Rokfin. Guys, share, get it out there. I don't know if you all know this. My Twitter, I've been suspended off Twitter. I'm waiting for my appeal to go through because of our doctor that we're going to have on later on today. And we will talk about that later. So please, guys, hit that like button, hit the share button. Fam, let's talk about this glorious, this hero, this whistleblower from Facebook. Oh, my Lord.
Yes. I mean, the best whistleblower we've had to date. I mean,
wow.
She's worked for corporate interests like Google. She randomly had an old Twitter account and then literally made a new one and was verified within, a day, and already has 60,000+ followers. Total whistleblower. So she went on 60 Minutes, and her name is Frances Haugen, right? And she went on 60 Minutes and did a whole segment with 60 Minutes right away. They just got her on there, right? With Julian Assange. Did they do that with Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning?
They tried.
Right? Yeah. So this whistleblower said on 60 Minutes that Facebook is misleading the public on progress against hate speech, violence, and misinformation. She said that she saw a conflict of interest between what was good for the public and what was good for Facebook. So her whole agenda that she talked about on 60 Minutes, which we're not going to really play, we're going to focus on what she said in the Senate, because that to me was more telling than anything. Yep. But if you guys can go watch it, she's on 60 Minutes. She basically talks about how it was that Facebook needs to do more to protect against hate speech and violence and divisiveness, and mentions the January 6th situation. And she mentions how misinformation needs to be reined in. So her whole agenda as a whistleblower, right? As a whistleblower is to advocate for more censorship, more protections, to give more power to the government to work with Facebook, Google, Instagram, all of these tech giants to control what people see, what they hear, the information that they have access to. I don't know about you, Pasta, but when I think of whistleblowers, I think about people who want to rein in government surveillance, the surveillance of the state agencies and the surveillance of big tech. They don't want to give it more power. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen a whistleblower who wants to just give more power to these same agencies under the guise of saying, well, Facebook has too much power already, so they need to be reined in, and they need to protect the public, the poor public who's too stupid to know what is real and what isn't. So I've never heard of a whistleblower like that. Yeah. So she went in the Senate, right? And she did this whole thing with the Senate, and the New York Times covered it. And we're going to watch a few segments of video. But she pretty much spent hours detailing to lawmakers how these networks harm young people. One of her main arguments is that girls, and teenage girls in particular, have depression and lose their self-confidence because of Instagram. And Facebook disagreed with her testimony, but said new rules for the internet were long overdue. It is time for Congress to act. So she also mentioned how Facebook is not able to effectively police anti-vaccine information. That's one of the main things she led with. She wants Facebook to control more anti-vax information, whatever that means, right? Facebook is already like flagging, taking down accounts left and right in regard to US imperialism, in regard to COVID. They have their little tab. I don't know how much more worse that could get. And she also said that that she was a product manager for the company's civic misinformation team. And so that's where she released this trove of internal documents demonstrating Facebook's negative impacts, and that Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter have helped push the decimation of false information at an all-time high. She talked about coronavirus, ivermectin. I mean, she literally wants people to be censored and removed from platforms. That's what she's advocating for. And she's saying that Facebook didn't do a good job, that Facebook was killing people. Well, she echoed what Joe Biden said, that Joe Biden said that Facebook was killing people through the inaccurate information it spread. And she said, I do not believe Facebook, as currently structured, has the capability to stop vaccine misinformation. So anything to go on that, Pasta, before we get into the video?
I mean, when you're already censoring up the gills and you've taken down so much stuff and it's just right in your face, how do you get to that next step? You make it about the children, right? Oh, this is about now. This is simply just about manufacturing consent for more censorship by saying that we have to protect the children. That's all this 100%. Fucking is. 100%. It's so obvious because everything. I mean, this is not a whistleblower. This is a propagandist. This is a PR person for, once again, the elites and the predator class who are losing control a lot of the narratives here and there. They see a lot of thumbs downs on Joe Biden's speeches and a lot of Psaki stuff. So they're understanding that's what's coming out of the White House isn't working anymore. So what do they do? All right, let's get this is all theater for show to get this together. And now they want to censor more. So how do you do that? How do you convince a bunch of stupid sheeples out there? You tell them that what you're doing it for the children. And a lot of people don't go look at the nuances of it. Like, they don't understand the lack of why speech that you don't like is still important in a free society, what we're all about. So they just lay it on top. It's about the children, and they're going to obtain their goal because this shit fucking works. Because unfortunately, people in America are asleep at the wheel. And if you thought the censorship was bad now, hold my beer. So it's going to get worse.
Yeah, so let's listen what she has to say. We're going to start at 0 to 1 minute and 5.
Good afternoon, Chairman Blumenthal, Ranking Member Blackburn, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Frances Haugen. I used to work at Facebook. I joined Facebook because I think Facebook has the potential to bring out the best in us. But I'm here today because I believe Facebook's products harm children, stoke division, and weaken our democracy. The company's leadership knows how to make Facebook and Instagram safer, but won't make the necessary changes because they have put their astronomical profits before people. Congressional action is needed. They won't solve this crisis without your help. Yesterday, we saw Facebook get taken off the internet. I don't know why it went down, but I know that for more than 5 hours, Facebook wasn't used to deepen divides, destabilize democracies, and make young girls and women feel bad about their bodies.
Okay. So,
here
Pasta, anything to say?
Once again, here we go. It's about making the young girls, they feel bad, they feel awful. They also do what they did with the Pandora pics. The papers, excuse me. They cherry pick. They cherry pick
Yep.
the information that's going to stand behind their narratives and their points and make their case better, and then they use it. Yeah, there are going to be some situations where people get belittled, they feel bad, whatnot, but that's not a regular thing. The majority of the people who are using Facebook just interact with each other on whatever. And why do we have to have such a weak-minded society where we have to protect ourselves against language, against verbs and adjectives and pronouns that might be able to kick your ass, and they call it violence? It's ridiculous here. We need to grow up. I hate to say it, we need to get tougher fucking skin as a society. I mean, you're looking at two people here, and especially my partner over here, who gets demonized and yelled at and belittled every fucking day. This is America. Deal with it. Grow a little thicker skin. We can't protect everybody against speech. If they're not advocating for violence, then it should be left be. Just learn to ignore people and learn to get out of groups, or just learn to be an adult.
The worst part is, Pasta, when they advocate for violence, that usually stays. I've seen it happen to me where like they've advocated violence and that stays up. It's when you say something against the empire or something against the people that hold power that's what this is going to come back to. It's not going to come back to protect anybody. First of all, neither the government nor this capitalist system gives two shits about what little teenage girls feel when they go on Instagram and they see completely fake people who have had, surgery and who have all of Photoshop and all the stuff. Like, yes, that creates this whole self-esteem thing. That's a societal problem. That's not a fucking censorship problem. That's a problem of society. What this society values, we value a lot of superficiality, artificial looks. What sex sells, all this stuff. That's capitalism. That's part of this society. If you want to stop that, maybe stop advertising false, influencers. Maybe stop, rein in the false advertising of your products. All of these things, but they're not going to do that because there's money to be made in that. Look who we prop up in society. We prop up people like Donald Trump, people like the Kardashians, reality television. That's a societal problem. You will not fix that societal problem by censoring people more. It's just going to actually make it worse. And you're right, Pasta. We do need to build a society of people who aren't constantly putting themselves as victims, because that's the problem that I see with a lot of the liberal left. That, and this is a criticism that often comes from the right, so it's easily dismissed, but it's not about pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. It's literally about understanding that there are shitty people and they're going to say shitty things. And guess what? They have the right to say them, and you have the right to defend yourself. And there are so many things that happen, especially in independent media, where I live that every day, as Pasta just mentioned. But if you're just going to let that, create this whole society where everybody's afraid of their own shadow, we're going to create a society where we're never going to revolt against authority. And that is a dangerous precedent to set.
Well, that society keeps everybody pitted at each other and not looking upstairs. And that's what's going on. And we know these people right now, like, they care so much about their pronouns and their adjectives. And, what I'm saying? It's like, just get a grip over here. You know what I'm saying? It's like my friend told me from the Middle East. He says, we don't give a shit what you call us or what you say or the language you use. We don't care how vocal, and how vulgar you can be about us. We just want you to get the hell out of our fucking country and stop bombing us. Do us that. You can call us whatever you want over there. We don't care. And that's the thing. We get caught up. Society gets caught up on the language with just, citizens going back and forth rather than the fucking overlords controlling everything for their corporate needs. Because it is all about corporatism, right? If we really cared about society and the way we treat each other and our health and everything else like that, we take a different approach to everything. But we don't. Instead, we just look at the surface level and say, look what's going on. And we stay distracted with each other while the empire is going out around and just doing everything. Go ahead.
Right. We invite them to continue censoring us to protect us, which is completely stupid because they're the ones making the issues. Yeah. So then she goes on to talk a little bit more. Let's hear what she has to say.
Intentionally hides vital information from the public, from the U.S. government, and from governments around the world. The documents I have provided to Congress prove that Facebook has repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children, the efficacy of its artificial intelligence systems, and its role in spreading divisive and extreme messages. I came forward because I believe that every human being deserves the dignity of the truth. The severity of this crisis demands that we break out of our previous regulatory frames. Facebook wants to trick you into thinking that privacy protections or changes to Section 230 alone will be sufficient. While important, these will not get to the core of the issue, which is that no one truly understands the destructive choices made by Facebook except Facebook. We can afford nothing less than full transparency. As long as Facebook is operating in the shadows, hiding its research from public scrutiny, it is unaccountable. Until the incentives change, Facebook will not.
That's funny. That's hysterical. Because Congress has just sat there and pretty much pushed Facebook to do their bidding, to do the things they want to do. You know what I'm saying? And when we want transparency, I mean, see, that's the thing. They plant these little truths within their whole fucking bullshit narrative to get away with what they want to get away with.
That's exactly it. Yeah, she talks about transparency. Look, nobody thinks that Facebook is an innocent little company. It's a tech giant. It's a giant social media platform that millions of people worldwide use. And should it have all this power? No, it absolutely shouldn't. It shouldn't have the power to control what I see and hear. If somebody wants to share an article that goes against the establishment narrative, they should be allowed to, even if it's deemed by somebody as false information. I have the right to decide what is false and what isn't. What they're trying to do is make it so that Facebook works more on behalf of the government it's already merging with, because that's what she talks about, our democracy. We live in an oligarchy. We don't live in a democracy. First of all, we live in an oligarchy because tech giants and corporations have merged with our government. These lobbyists and these very wealthy people who are the ones that your government is working for are the ones that write the legislation, the 2,700 pages of legislation that nobody fucking reads. That's who has the power. She is advocating to give more power to the government to control Facebook, which is kind of like, I'm not advocating for Facebook to have the control, but neither should the government. The people need to have the control. And this whole thing goes back to censorship, right? To the surveillance state and the oligarchy merging its powers, the big technocratic panopticon that we're talking about with big tech, these corporations and your government all merging to pretty much data mine you, and you're pretty much just a set of numbers of information. That's all you are. So the last part is very telling. This is where she pretty much says all the scary shit that everybody's been talking about. Let's hear it.
Believe in false choices. They want you to believe that you must choose between a Facebook full of divisive and extreme content or losing one of the most important values our country was founded upon, free speech. That you must choose between public oversight of Facebook's choices and your personal privacy. That to be able to share fun photos of your kids with old friends, you must also be inundated with anger-driven virality. They want you to believe that this is just part of the deal. I am here today to tell you that's not true. These problems are solvable. A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible. But there's one thing that I hope everyone takes away from these disclosures. It is that Facebook can change, but is clearly not going to do so on its own. My fear is that without action, divisive and extremist behaviors we see today are only the beginning. What we saw in Myanmar and are now seeing in Ethiopia are only the opening chapters of a story so terrifying, no one wants to read the end of it. Congress can change the rules that Facebook plays by and stop the many harms it is now causing. We now know the truth about Facebook's destructive impact. I really appreciate the seriousness which the members of Congress and the Securities and Exchange Commission are approaching these issues. I came forward at great personal risk because I believe we still have time to act. But we must act now. I'm asking you, our elected representatives, to act. Thank you.
like they haven't acted enough. They've been pushing for Facebook censorship. I've been watching so many of these hearings. It's disgusting, especially guys like Blumenthal, who was sitting over there, one of those fucking chairmen and whatnot. They had no problem when when Facebook and WhatsApp was used to coordinate events for the Arab Spring, right? In Tunisia and in Libya and all these other countries, whatnot. They had no problems with it whatsoever. And if they were really so concerned about what Facebook's doing, they did nothing when Cambridge Analytica got our data sold to them by fucking Zuckerberg, even though he lied. They just glossed it off like it was nothing. But when it's not in their favor, when it's not in the empire's favor, when Facebook is used against the empire, then all of a sudden we're throwing our arms up in the air and go, oh my God, Miramar, we got to stop this now and all this other. But it was okay when it was used in your benefit. In fact, they were promoting those algorithms for those people to coordinate against those governments because that's what the empire wanted back then. But now it's all different.
Yeah, they're playing good cop and bad cop, right? So they go back and forth. That's exactly what they're doing. So Congress and the government is right now pretending that they're so concerned for the well-being of its citizens, and they think their citizens too stupid to decimate what is good information and what is bad information. So in order to protect their feeble stupidity, they need more control over Facebook, and Facebook is like saying, no, we want to give these people, more free reign, while simultaneously behind the scenes working with the government to pretty much take down any accounts that attack the empire. They are holding hands behind your back. They're cheating on you, and the public ends up losing. At the end of the day, we end up losing more rights regardless. Our rights are being decimated and trampled on every fucking day in this country. Every day we wake up with less rights. We wake up inches closer towards full-on fascism. That's what's happening in this country. And this person is not a whistleblower. They are a CIA asset working at the behest of the empire. And it's very obvious to anyone who's paid attention. It's very obvious they deem the American population too stupid to understand. And yes, there's a portion of the liberals and some of the left that literally fall for this bullshit because it's through the pathos, through the emotions. And, it's really sad to see where we are, where a lot of the criticism of this whistleblower is coming from, what is known as the alt left or the bad left, like we are. And that's a small percentage. And then everybody else it's coming from the right and independents and libertarians, because the left is just too asleep with, falling in love with the agencies that they once attacked. So it's crazy.
You're talking about the Bread Round Alliance, right? That's coming in there and kind of promoting
the bread and round, yeah.
The Bread Round. As I got to get a T-shirt. The Red Brown Alliance. It is what it is right now. And it really, to tell you the truth, sometimes when I start looking at mainstream media, and I feel like I'm in a Clockwork Orange, where they're strapping me down to a chair and keeping my eyes open and forcing me to watch this shit. The little theater they put in front of us, what they choose to talk about, it's just ridiculous. It's all a big distraction. After watching a video yesterday on YouTube from somebody, it was an independent media, I think it was a Durand or something, MSNBC came on, and for the first 10 minutes I was like, all right, let me just listen to this. They're talking about nonsense. They're talking about distractions. They're not talking about anything that's important. Meanwhile, anybody who attempts to, okay, let's do our own news, let's tell our own stories, let's get some truth out there, they get censored, they get demonetized, they get put down. I hope the American people wake up to what's going on and understand that they're using the media to manipulate them so badly, because this is really scary. This is dangerous. Every single time we see something like this come to the floor, a hearing like this, we need to perk our ears up and go, okay, what are they trying to do? They're telling you they're planning for more censorship. And when Caleb Maltman told us, when we asked him, I said, what's going to happen? He says, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Well, this is the part of it getting worse right here with Francis.
The New York Times also reported that in her testimony that we didn't show, she also has intensified calls in Europe for new laws and regulations aimed at the social media company and other Silicon Valley giants. So not only is she talking about the United States, she's talking about the European Union and the UK. So when a whistleblower, when the establishment jumps on a whistleblower and she gets propped up, or they get propped up by mainstream media, they get all of this prime access coverage, they get a Twitter account verification, they get all this following, all of a sudden they're like propped up as a hero. You should be suspect, because we currently have a whistleblower, Edward Snowden, living in Russia because he's seen as a traitor by the US government. Chelsea Manning was jailed twice, finally released. And then we have Julian Assange, who's awaiting extradition for exposing US war crimes. And so when you look at who the whistleblowers are, and then you can go through the list, right? Don Zinger, you can look at all these whistleblowers.
Reality winner. Yeah.
Reality winner. Every single one that posed a small, minute potential threat to the establishment was punished in some way or fashion, or is currently being punished. This person is not a whistleblower. So let's look at the establishment support she has. This is Amy Klobuchar, right? She's a great leader of the progressives.
You got to say her name right. It's Amy Klobuchar.
Amy Klobuchar. So she said, hearings are great, but I want action. Notice the words they use: protect our democracy. Congress must take action. Frances Hogan wants action. It's time for Facebook to be held accountable with legislation. And I'm asking you to join me in calling Congress to act. So let's go ahead and look at her angle.
It was an important day for the truth, and that's because Frances Haugen, a whistleblower, someone who put it all on the line and came forward and told the truth about what's going on at Facebook, told the truth about how content has been targeted, basically, with Facebook knowing about it, to young girls, that it's increased suicidal thoughts, that it has made the situation worse when it comes to eating disorders. And they knew this, and they didn't do anything about it. What's the answer? There's a lot of answers. Better regulation when it comes to kids on the internet, to help parents being able to police what's going on. Doing more with these algorithms that basically promote hateful content, whether it is violent content, whether it is misinformation about vaccines, or even the content leading up into the insurrection. It is also about competition policy. The tech lobbyists have basically stopped any changes to American privacy laws or competition policy for now over a decade. That has to stop. And the hearing was great, but now it is time for action. Every corner you turn, you see a tech lobbyist in Congress. Frances Haugen, she was willing to stand up, and so am I, and we need you by our side. Thank you.
She was told how much stuff, fam, by Julian Assange about the empire and what they're doing. And what did she do about it? Nothing. Zero. They still fund the fucking war machine and the CIA to the tune of millions and billions and trillions of dollars. Oh my. Who the hell is she? She's telling you cryptically that they're getting ready to censor us more.
Exactly. And you know, it's funny, she hits all the points, right? Oh, the children, all the girls with their eating disorders. All the vaccine misinformation, January 6th. She hits every single point to telling you. I mean, within their stupidity and malevolent attempts, they're telling you exactly why they're doing this. They're not doing this to protect you. They're telling you the information they're trying to suppress, and the things that you know they're capitalizing on. They're capitalizing on the societal issues that we have as a society, where people are depressed and all of this stuff. And children, yes, children have issues, but it's mainly because of the system. So they're using that to stop any sort of free information from coming, in terms of what's going on with the empire, what's going on with January 6th, and what's going on, you know, and questioning these agendas. That's what they're doing. And Amy Klobuchar did a great job of telling you exactly what's going on. So Donnie O'Sullivan, it's like thundering here. Donnie O'Sullivan said the Facebook whistleblower, Frances Haugen, is expected to meet with the January 6th Select Committee as soon as tomorrow. So that was on October 6th. So she's supposed to be meeting with the January 6th Select Committee. Gee, I don't know. how perfect is it that a whistleblower from Facebook is suddenly advocating for more censorship because of January 6th, because of the organization that took place, right, via Facebook. And so now she just perfectly falls into the hands of this committee that's going to use January 6th, which they compare to 9/11, the perpetrators, which they compare to Al-Qaeda, right? They're going to use that to censor more people and stop people from organizing anything, including protests, because this is as far as it goes. We've talked about the domestic violent extremists, right? So she's such a perfect whistleblower for the empire, for the establishment.
Yeah. No, I know. And then you see names like Adam Schiff in there and whatnot. And if there's a God, if he's up there, please do something right now. Please make these people pay. This is just fucking gross at this fucking point, and to stand behind, they put on their cloak of virtuosity and come there and say, we're going to save the children and the nasty behavior, whatnot. And meanwhile, they're just spreading death and destruction and raping this world, taking all the resources for themselves. Please, anybody up there, Rick and Morty spacesuit, give me something, because this is just, it's mind fucking blowing. And I can't wait till you get to this next part over here with Alex Rubinstein in this tweet here, because it just makes you, it should make your blood fucking boil. These people, they think you're stupid out there. They think you are stupid. They think you're dummies. And sometimes by seeing some of you shit libs and you boutique leftists, the people that we used to be in the street with, seeing some of your tweets and your Instagram posts and your Facebook posts, they're right. You are fucking stupid. You take the bait so easily. Stop trusting people with power. You're not going to conform them. We cannot move them left. We need to get rid of them. They need to go.
100% Pasta. That's a revolutionary speaking. Alex Rubinstein made this tweet. He said, before rising to stardom as a defender of democracy, notice those words again, and setting up a cookie cutter Twitter account, Frances Haugen was tweeting from @Frizzy and blogging about cycling in Europe. If you go to @Frizzy, it is now locked. She used to be a pill-popping, uninteresting rich girl with a cushy tech job. Now she's a famous whistleblower. I don't know about where that pill-popping thing came from, but I'm just looking at what he said on her tech. If you go through the tweet, he lists like where she worked, which is crazy. She worked for some of the major, conglomerates like Google and a bunch of places. He also talked about, let's see, where else did she work? She was a project manager at Google. She worked for Hinge, Pinterest, Google again, Facebook. I mean, this person is a person paid well,
Who'd she vote for? Where's the voting record? Let's pull that up. Let's see what team she plays for and stuff. Because let me tell you something. And like, once again, Zach Voorhees wasn't like the best, greatest whistleblower dropping bombs, but he provided some valuable information about the way they fucking do things over at Twitter and whatnot. And he provided valuable information on how they shut down and seize accounts. And yet he was shunned, not looked at. He wasn't listened to anybody. He had to go to Project Veritas because they made no choice. Because once again, our fucking goddamn media and our goddamn elites just play team sports, and it's all by fucking design. I don't know where the pill popping thing came from either, but if Alex Rubinstein put it up there, who knows?
Oh, it's because she mentioned taking Ambien a bunch of times online. So that's what he was referencing. But yeah, her work gives me suspicion, right? Her LinkedIn page. I always go through those. Where did you work? What made you all of a sudden, after working for all these tech giants, care about becoming a whistleblower on behalf of the people who somehow ends up lining up with the establishment? She also doesn't want to actually break up Facebook, which is a big sign. If you want to bring down Facebook, break it up then and give more power to the people. No, she's actually against the breaking up of Facebook, according to Nicole Goodkind. So she'd like to let the company remain $1 trillion monopoly, but also create a federal agency to regulate it, which she says should employ former Facebook employees. She said this, I believe, at the hearing. So she's not for breaking up a tech giant. I wonder why. So that's interesting. And I just wanted to pretty much end with one of my tweets. that we need to look into this. And Niko just had a great tweet earlier today. This Facebook whistleblower, promoted by the mainstream media as a hero for exposing things we already knew about social media, is advocating for more censorship and stoppage of misinformation by the same social media platforms already working with the government to sell establishment narratives. No way. Like, this is really happening, right? And, you know, I talk about how it's a societal issue of girls having problems, that they don't care about this. This is about control. It's about controlling what you hear, what you see. So that's that, fam. That's that section.
Touche, fam. Great stuff. Great information. Thank you to Alex Rubenstein and everybody else over there too as well. Great job, Ben Norton, Max Blumenthal. Their Pandora papers. It's been a great show. We should have called today's show highlighting the moves of the deep state, because you know, I mean, wow, you know, like I said, they're advocating for more censorship over here. And when you see it plain and simple that she's not down for breaking up Facebook, she's about giving them more power to censor. They're talking about J6 stuff. They've already mentioned misinformation about vaccines. They, you know, I mean, everything they're talking just is, it's scary. It's scary out there, because they're taking away open, free, robust debate. That's what they're going to do. They're going to take away different ideas. They're going to try to keep everything, you know, in front of them and controlled, so the narrative doesn't get out of their control. The one thing that is making me feel kind of positive is the fact that it must be getting out of control somewhat if they're pulling moves like this. If they're going to bring up a Fugazi whistleblower right now to tell us more things we already knew about Facebook, not fix the real problems. So maybe there's a kink in their armor. Maybe we're getting to them, fam. Who knows? Maybe we can build upon this.
Maybe.
So, yeah. Let's read some super rays really quickly. All right. Deponic, yes. Thank you for the super ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Kristen Nye says, Amy Klobuchar, thank the Facebook whistleblower for her bravery. I know. Isn't that just fucking disgusting? Margaret Bowe, thank you for the super ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. A-Rem, always loving, always coming to the show. We love you. Thank you so much, A-Rem. So much of the fruits of your labor. Thank you so much. Thank you, A-Rem. And Trey Wright again. If the mainstream media is propping up a whistleblower, then shady shit is going on. Red flags everywhere. Thank you, Trey. Yep. We hoped you like Lamb. We're going to go see Lamb. Our boy Trey Wright. Last week was his birthday. Happy 18th birthday. Just kidding. Shadowban Refugee. What's up, Paulie? Great show. Tune in to Frank Analysis this evening for some deep diving into the infrastructure package and the Build Back Better agenda. Guys, this is information you're not going to get anywhere. And I want to send a special shout out, not only to Shadowban Refugee and Paulie, but to Frank Analysis, Ali, Sebs, Jack. All these people have been doing amazing work. There's a great show that Frank did with Jack, and he knows a lot about crypto. There's a lot of questions I still have, but it is kind of bringing you an awareness to what's going on behind the scenes when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and whatnot. Go check out that video, and please check out this video. We have a video with Shadowban Refugee. I know they're going to build on that. These are important things. Nobody's looking through these bills. These guys have taken the time to do so. So go ahead and get yourself informed and watch that show later on, and also watch our show later on as we have on Peter McCullough. Shadowban Refugee also said in his Karen voice, Karen, what about the children? We need censorship to protect the children. Oh my God. Where's my ambient? Where's my volume? I need it. Go get me a kombucha. I'm feeling nauseous.
That was
Laura
good.
Genovese, K5. Thank you, Convo Couch. I can't say enough how much I admire the way you keep bringing on countless facts and analysis and how we're getting manipulated. By the way, Pasta, I'm not part of any notorious family. LOL. In fact, I'm as left as they come. Love you guys. Keep healthy as you push to save Assange, truth, and against the murderous, powerful machine. And it's keeping us all down. Thank you, Laura Genovese. You still get Italian priorities and privileges when you're with me, even though you're not a friend of ours. Family, they used to say a friend of ours. He's a friend of ours. That means that he's, you know, a friend of ours. Wink, wink. 233 people over on the YouTube, 85 on the Rokfin. Let's grow these numbers, guys. Like, hit the thumbs button, hit the share. Fam, no show would be complete unless we talked about the fraud squad. Did you get frozen? Is she frozen? No. 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 Oh. There's thunder. Yeah, that's ridiculous out there. So yeah, I mean, we just had two great sections over there. Let me go over to YouTube and see if I can talk to some people on YouTube's over there. How you guys doing on YouTube's? Jilly Love, we love you. Thank you so much. Love Tagori, how you doing? Wilmar, Germality, Kabuki Commando, and from the New Genesis, Marvel's becoming a tad played out in current pop culture climate. Had to turn it to other worlds, the fourth world. Well, I mean, I think a lot of the message that they're putting through those movies too as well is kind of like a bunch of virtue signaling on bullshit as well. I know this might seem sick, but I was rooting for Thanos at one point. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, well, maybe Thanos needs to win in a cartoon world for us to see that it's just things are a little crazy. And I don't necessarily root for the bad guy, but even when Bane, remember when Bane had that big conversation when he came out and he let go of the prisons? He says, like, I'm going to let go the poor people who have been imprisoned by the establishment. You will put them on trial and do as you please. Somebody sent me that section too as well. It's kind of crazy, but I think about it a lot. You know, I think about the French Revolution. I mean, how do we get out of this? Because we do have a predator class that is just fucking controlling everything we hear, everything we see. They're trying to control our speech. They are doing a good job at it. We need to continue to push back. So I can't tell you enough how much it's appreciated when you watch the show, when you send us love financially. It's amazing. We love it to death, guys. We really do appreciate it. But even if you don't have a few bucks, you can just like, share, and subscribe, and that stuff does help as well. If we get the information out there, the better it is. So you guys are the ones who are carrying us. You are our eyes and ears. So help us out. Creed, yeah, that's it. Getting at them. When most major cities look like a ghetto of some third world nation. I know, right? We're talking about all these issues right now. We're talking about what Facebook is doing to our children. And don't get me wrong, you know, I have sympathy from anybody who suffers any illness, any mentally ill people out there, really. I've been attacked by mentally ill people since I've started this fucking show. It's really tough. And I have a heart. I have a sense of compassion. But we need real fiscal solutions over here to our problems, because we have real problems. We have people dying and suffering on the street. I think we learn, for all the Medicare advocates out there, what kind of Medicare we want. We do want Medicare. We want health, right? But we got to be careful about who's controlling it and who's pulling the strings. We want to make sure that resources are allocated all around this country, all around the world if possible. But, you know, when you have people living in the streets, when you have 750,000 homeless people, and you probably have over 1 million homeless people by the end of the year, we have a serious problem, and that's in the richest nation there is. Do you see people out there in Congress advocating for these people? How come there hasn't been a state of emergency to stop the homeless problem? Really? Serious. Everybody stops when it comes to this or that, and their little bullshit. And look at AOC is wearing a dress that says "Tax the Rich," and she's really sending a sign out there. But I mean, seriously, we have people starving. We have people dying. We have people being used as pawns going to fight rich man's wars. We have some serious problems we need to take care of. And there's a group of people, an elite group of people, predator class people, who are sitting in fancy houses with nice fancy food and laughing at us as we're doing their bidding. We need to fix that. Have we had any contact from planet Earth, Oz? Ooh, okay. Well, let's get started on the next section then. Okay, so we have a couple tweets out there. What show would be a show wouldn't be complete, I should say, if we didn't talk about the Fraud Squad, okay? Remember when AOC and the Squad and all these other people, these boutique leftists, in fact, I did a debate with a guy that Roy Shanda moderated, right? We're mitigating damage. We're going to push people left. And we were like, no, you cannot do that. We're way past that point. You're playing the same game over and over again and expecting different results. That's the definition of insanity. Well, instead of the Squad holding anybody accountable, they were just a team player the whole time. So here it is, AOC. She praises Biden as a good faith partner and says, I am fighting for his agenda with the Build Back Better Act. This effectively an endorsement of the corporate Democratic establishment. That's Peter Dow. Peter fucking Dow pointing that out, okay? And let me just say this much. The thing we need to be pushing for, we talked about Paulie and Shadowban Refugee, who was just on here. We talked about his partners who he's doing work with. Allie, who I love you, Allie. You're amazing. You do amazing work. Sebs, she's a ball buster. She's a pain in the ass. But once again, at the end of the day, she produces solid work. Jack, amazing. These people are awesome. And the reason why I keep highlighting these people over the last couple of weeks is they're doing what should be happening on the Congress floor. I was going to say it should be done. Doing, I can't even fucking speak. We need to have solid, robust debate on the floor of Congress of every part of these fucking bills. These bills shouldn't be 2,700 pages. They're that long because they want to confuse people. They want to fucking beat people over the head and say, I can't read 2,700 fucking pages to see what's in this bill. That's what this group of people that I just mentioned with the Shadowban Refugee and crew is doing. That needs to be done on the floor. Every part of it. And I know people go, oh, they always say, how are you going to pay for it? But yet they can pay for war. But it doesn't make a difference because we want to make sure the money trickles down to what it's needed, to the actual parts of the bill, because it never is. It usually goes and gets slipped into some contractor in their pocket. The work doesn't get done. And some guy is off on his yacht drinking champagne and OJ on your dollar when it was supposed to go to our roads and bridges. And that happens quite often. If you look at the story of the Clinton Foundation in Haiti, they just stole money and they went and never did the work for it. So that's why we need to have these debates on the floor. And they don't have these debates on the floor. Now, in fact, they just call a vote and you don't even know if your representative has read the bill. So let's get on into AOC praising Biden. AOCIA, you have to make the decision for yourself. Did she get in and change, or was she a plant to go in there and to sway people and swing a lot of these progressives into thinking that, they have to join the establishment because Republicans bad? Take a look.
Question about the vision for the Democratic Party. And last year, you were very, very frank during the presidential race. You said in any other country, Joe Biden and I would not even be in the same party. But in America, we are. Mm-hmm. Has Joe Biden proved himself progressive enough for you now?
Yeah, I think and those comments are referring to parliamentary systems in other countries where there's a lot more diversity. We don't have a two-party duopoly in other countries the way that we do in ours. But I think that President Biden has been a good faith partner to the entire Democratic Party. He is, in fact, a moderate, and we disagree on certain issues, but he reaches out and he actually tries to understand our perspective. And that is why I am fighting for his agenda with the Build Back Better Act.
Are you surprised?
I wouldn't even be on his side if it wasn't America and the two-party system. And since it's a two-party system, I had to play team sports, right? I can't stand on my values and my principles. I can't do the work that constituents put me there to do, that people voted me on, because it's a two-party system. So I have to stand with the best partner available. This is some fucking top premium brand bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Bullshit. Right. It's all about playing team sports. Did you freeze again? She froze again. Jesus Christmas. Thunderstorms. But I mean, if you just listen to that shit again, oh, he's been a good faith actor. He's good for the whole Democratic Party. Why don't you fight for the process? Why don't you highlight the issues that are really, really bad? That there's these 2,700 page bills that come to the floor and they have very little time to read these things, and then they got to vote on it. Why don't you talk about the lack in the process and stuff? Why don't you say that? I mean, you can do what you have the ability to say we can have a 3-page bill. This is something I've been not ragging, but I've been really critical of Tulsi Gabbard's comments from a couple weeks ago, and I've been really hitting it home and saying how upset I was. But when she was in Congress, she would bring 3-page bills to the floor. She would bring 5-page bills to the floor, 10-page bills to the floor. This is a 2,700-page bill that is brought to the floor right now, and they just want to, mask this whole kind of like ideology that we have to fund this, we have to push this through. This is for the people, when you're not even talking about the details of what's going on. I want to try to make an analogy what that's like. It's like saying we're going to build a car inside and out, but yet you only have the plans on how you're going to build the frame and the outside. What's going to be in the inside? It's going to be shit, right? Okay, that's what's going on over here. And it's just a smokescreen, because once again, you have a lot of the boutique left. You can throw rhetoric at them. You can throw bumper stickers at them. Oh, this is Build Back Better. This is a reconciliation bill. This is about infrastructure. Yeah, but what are the details? Are we going to get real infrastructure? Or are we going to get bullshit infrastructure? And whatever happened to have a clean infrastructure bill, right? There's so much we can do in this country right now if we weren't duped, if we didn't allow these leaders to get away with what's going on. Everybody on the left, every progressive that supported fucking AOC should be shunning her right now. So please, let's get to some more bullshit from your representative AOCIA.
But a $2 trillion ceiling, that means you're going to have to maneuver here somewhere. The head of your caucus said this morning you're looking at shorter funding periods for programs. So instead of chopping, sort of nipping and tucking.
Yes.
So what is non-negotiable there for you? So,
you bring up an excellent point in that the fact is that we do have to compromise with the fact that we have Senator Manchin and Sinema who refuse to support certain programs for working families. And so the compromises and the options that we have before us is, do we shorten our funding programs? Do you reduce the level of funding? Do you cut programs out together? I think that one of the ideas that's out there is fully fund what we can fully fund, but maybe instead of doing it for 10 years, you fully fund it for 5 years.
Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Why don't you discuss those plans in depth on the Congress floor? I keep saying this, and I'm not going to stop saying this until they fucking start doing it. That's the way our Congress was set up, for robust debate on the floor, discourse. Every step of the way, that's all the elites do, is they take away discourse. They're going to censor you, less discourse. We're going to implant cancel culture, so you eliminate the person across from you who thinks differently than you right there. You cancel him, so there's no discourse. We're getting further and further away from discourse, and we need to get back to the good old-fashioned discourse that was once there. These programs, like I said, they should be debated on the floor for quite some time, but instead, they just spend more time demonizing the other side, weaponizing identity politics. They keep you distracted with the bullshit because, frankly, a lot of you people fall for it. Fam, how you feeling?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So
I'm nauseous. We're talking about AOCIA.
I know. I saw that. Johnny, if you could get less background, it's a little. So I wanted to mention how a lot of the things that the progressives initially started with, right? It was Medicare for all, Green New Deal, $15 minimum wage. All of that's been scrapped. Now it's expanding Medicare, getting childcare, free community college, and that's what they're relying on for the reconciliation bill. That's what they were pushing. They're saying, oh, we're going to get this reconciliation bill. It's part of the Build Back Better. We're going to do this whole thing together, and that's why you need to support this infrastructure bill and this agenda, because Biden is going to do this. It's going to be so unprecedented. It's like the greatest thing since the New Deal. She's literally telling you right there that even though these are the things we want, right, we're not going to get all of that. She's admitting that they're not going to get all of that, that they're going to fold. So all of these, neo-progressives and these shit libs, they're like, oh, see, she's fighting for us. Bernie's fighting for us. Look, they're putting up a fight. They're not. No, they're gonna capitulate, because that's what they've been doing this whole time. So I just wanted to point that out. She's letting you know that they're going to capitulate. And that is something that we don't need. We didn't elect progressives to work with the Democratic establishment. I think this is where the misunderstanding comes from. We elected these people to get rid of the establishment, to get rid of this system that is just causing just greater and greater economic inequality. It is wasting money on these wasteful wars and all of these things. That's what they were elected for. They weren't elected to work nice and play nice with Pelosi so their careers could benefit. And that's where the issue with AOC comes from, where people are like, why do you go after AOC? Because she literally was propped up and ran as the most progressive leftist socialist congressperson in America. And she has not only not delivered on that, she's actually working at the behest of the establishment now. So, that's that on that.
At a rally, fam. The last rally when I went to and I got attacked, the guy literally said to me, he goes, I can't believe you guys give AOC all this shit and yet you're here condoning this. I'm like, well, first of all, I ain't condoning anything. I'm here covering this and asking questions and, being a journalist and a reporter. I'm not playing team sports like you, pal. And I can't believe that the first thing you come at me with is that you're mad that I'm going after AOC.
So just to reiterate some of what was said, I'm going to read a little bit from the transcript that came up on CBS, because not everything, we didn't watch the whole video. So she said that Margaret Brennan asked her, so you have this standoff right now. How real is the risk that the Democrats end up with nothing? So she says, I know that, I believe that the entire party is committed in delivering for this country. And I know that our caucus, the House Democratic Caucus, is entirely focused on delivering for this country. But I think the question that we're having right now is the reason we are having this discussion right now is because we don't want to leave communities behind. And all too often, DC politics, when we have to make a compromise, the folks that get compromised are lower income, working class families. It's healthcare, it's relief, it's communities of color. And we want to make sure that we're fighting for all of us, not just some of us. Okay, so she literally did not answer the question. Do you not see? She didn't answer the question at all.
She used the buzzwords though, fam.
She literally
used the
it's
buzzword.
A bunch of bullshit buzzwords strung together. And then Margaret Brennan says, which is why you're using your leverage right now to hold up the other $1 trillion infrastructure bill. But the head of your caucus, the Progressive Caucus, was on another network this morning, and Rep. Jayapal said 1.5 trillion is just too small. That's the number that Senate moderates, Joe Manchin in particular, want to get down to. President Biden, according to our reporting from Ed O'Keefe, our correspondent, says you're going to have to settle for about 2 trillion. Is that an acceptable ceiling for you? So there she goes again. So here's where I think the problem is. It's that when we talk about top line numbers, there's a lot that is hidden in that discussion. And so the reason why this conversation shouldn't be about numbers, but it should be about what substantiated programs are willing to be excluded and she goes, that's coming from the White House. And she says, yeah, but the White House isn't making the demands to exclude universal child care or universal pre-K. So she's covering for Biden. This is coming from the more conservative wing of the Democratic Party. And those are the conversations that we need to have, because the thing is that Washington math is notoriously funny, and you can make 3 trillion. You can make 1 trillion bill into a 2 trillion. You can make a $3 trillion dollar bill that helps fewer people, etc. So that's why we really need to talk about the substance of this. The budget bill that House progressives are trying to fight for, the Biden Build Back Better agenda, includes universal pre-K, free community college, expansion of Medicare. We're fighting for the expansion of Medicaid. And these are the things that we are saying in addition to the very real climate threat we have, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, fucking answer the question. So, but a $2 trillion ceiling, that means you're going to have to maneuver here somewhere. The head of your caucus said this morning you're looking at shorter funding periods for programs. So instead of chopping, sort of nipping and tucking. And that's when she said, yes, yes. And then she goes on to the non-negotiable, right? And she does her whole thing. And then she talks about that, this is where she says, I believe that free community college should be standard. We should have K through 14, but this is one bill, and perhaps we can vote more down the line right? This is where she says more down the line. And we've discussed with the president about that, continuing that funding. But there's a wide variety of those programs. And I would encourage officials to let them know what programs they want to make sure are kept. But I think there are some things that are just very, very important to us. And so she said, Margaret says, what's for you? What is non-negotiable? And then, and she says, I think some of the climate provisions that we have, we cannot afford to increase carbon or just fossil fuel emissions at this time. That is simply the science. That is not something we can kick down the line. Right now, both the IPCC report saying that this is code red for humanity, as well as recent reporting saying if you're under 40 like myself, like millions of Americans, you'll be seeing a catastrophic increase. And Margaret interrupts her and says, you're going to run into Senator Joe Manchin on those issues, though, you know that. And she said, yes. And I think Senator Manchin is going to run into the science as well. And then they just go on and about the Hyde Amendment and, and it's just crazy how she doesn't say anything, right? She doesn't say anything. Yeah. She makes it about, I'm trying to help people out. And
word salad, bullshit, buzzwords.
It's bullshit.
Double talk.
That's why I'm making fun of her, because it's bullshit. And then she pretty much does everything we already went over. So
maybe you should be here for Halloween.
Yeah. I gotta get the wig. I gotta
the white dress.
Hone in on my the tax the rich one. Somebody make me a tax the rich dress.
Trey's gonna be Fauci, he said. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Trey, you'll be starting in Disney soon, by the way. Okay.
I know. Can you believe that shit?
Dude, that's insane. I didn't even put it in the folder, but it's so insane. So I just wanted to point out a couple things about Joe Biden, right? And we're going to play the video, but I'm going to read Niko's tweet first, because this is what Joe Biden, who she is, saying is so great, is doing. So Niko says, Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the executive branch, but somehow this numbskull who's been abusing executive authority to further elitist agendas somehow can't find a way to use it, or the Dems majority, to benefit the working class, right? They can benefit everybody else, but not you. So let's hear what our Uncle Joe has to say.
The meteor is headed to crash into our economy. Democrats are willing to do all the work stopping it. Republicans just have to let us do our job. Just get out of the way. If you don't want to help save the country, get out of the way so you don't destroy it.
Oh, that's fucking hysterical. Joe Biden saying you don't want to help save the country. You want to let it get destroyed, get out of the way. Motherfucker, you've been part of destroying it. You've been the architect of destroying this fucking country for 48 years right now. And you want to talk like you're some, some hero all of a sudden, like some fucking Power Ranger. Yeah, he's the silver old Power Ranger. Please.
Yeah, save the like, get out of the way. Like, what? So more mandates, more, nothing for the working class, no drug cash payments, no Medicare for all, no college tuition, no minimum wage. That's helping save the country. He could, by executive order, give student loan forgiveness. He could, by executive order, give people health care. He's not going to, right? Okay. So we know that they're bullshitting you when they say, oh, it's the parliamentarian, or it's Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. Republicans. It's Donald Trump still, because Donald Trump is still president in their eyes. This is the whole thing. And then it gets worse. It gets worse, fam, because Joe Biden, in the middle of this incoming fall, because we've been talking about this, the fam and I, we've been saying that the dollar will collapse, that shit is going to go down, shit's going to hit the fan. And of course, the politicians are now revealing to you that this is the case. Wall Street is even telling you that this is the case. So Joe Biden, in the middle of this depression that we're experiencing, decided to consult with an amazing individual, completely just one of the best people we have in society, Jamie Dimon, the Wall Street bailout banker, who should actually be in jail for his role in the 2008 crash, JP Morgan Chase, while the media and progressives portray Joe Biden as the second coming of FDR with this Build Back Better Act. This is what Joe Biden's doing. This is Jamie Dimon, the piece of shit. And let me just say this much. This is when I started like going, what? When
when Obama fucking hired Geithner right after the crash, it was like, these people are all working together. They don't give a fuck. This, like you said, fam, this guy should be making license plates for a while. So please, go ahead.
An actual default would be unprecedented. The things we know that it would do are very bad, and it could be potentially far worse. The effects would be cascading. So day one would be bad, but the cascading effects in the ensuing weeks could go anywhere from a recession to a complete catastrophe for the global economy. And I don't know why anyone would take a chance like that.
This guy Pasta has also advocated against Bitcoin.
Oh, I know he hates Bitcoin, but yet JP Morgan was offering some of their higher elite customers some Bitcoin. This is Max Kaiser's number one fucking enemy over here, Jamie Dimon. And the guy's a piece of shit. And he got away with fucking actual robbery during the 2008 crash, like you said, you know, selling off fucking commodities and selling off fucking assets that he knew were going to fail. They knew they were going to crash, and they still sold them off to pensions and situation where working class people put money from their 401ks in and stuff. He really just robbed the fucking country blind. He was one of many fucking CEOs. JP Morgan Chase, this guy is a fucking criminal. But didn't you like the little desk they were sitting at? I mean, how are people this stupid not to see what's going on? Once you're doing business with this guy right over here, you should be immediately going, wait a second. This guy fucked over the working class hardcore, and now you're bringing him in to consult, to ask him what to do. This guy's a Wall Street mogul, a thief.
This is a fucking insult. It's an insult to the working class. If we did this, if we understandably became Robin Hood and started stealing back from the millionaires all the money that they took for us, we would be fucking jailed and executed and just completely done. But they can do this, walk out scot-free, and continue holding positions of power. They fail up in this country. The more corrupt you are, the more of an imperialist you are, the more money and power you will obtain, the more notoriety. That's an insult right now, especially to people right now who are experiencing hardships. It is a complete insult. It's so tone deaf. It is just, he got so much criticism for this, but like, I just still can't believe it happened.
The balls that he could do that. The balls that he did that. I mean, just the fact that you're going to bring on Jamie Dimon. I mean, where are people? Are you guys asleep at the fucking wheel?
We live in a cartoon.
Oh, we're going to get public banking in California, fam.
We did, technically. We'll see what happens.
Who gives a fucking goddamn, who gives a shit when the fucking Fed and Wall Street are controlling the fucking dollar? You know what I'm saying? Who cares? They're manipulating fucking assets behind our fucking back.
So that's the section, fam.
Let me read some super rays before I get fucking nauseous right here. Fucking Wall Street is telling the president what to fucking do. Not the fact that he took so much more money from Wall Street than any other president. He beat Barack Obama's record. We got to mitigate damage and put him left because we have a Nazi in the White House. You people are so fucking dumb. And you know what? You're the most dangerous people on the fucking planet. You're the sheep herders walking people off a cliff. All of you boutique left idiots. The ones who invite Jimmy Gomez to come into your fucking house after the fucking guy takes more money from the medical industry than fucking anybody in fucking California just about. Oh my God. Roger Meadows, I can't believe this bee said she's against antitrust enforcement, but we should regulate it instead of having the regulators be former Facebook employees. That's talking about the original person, Francis. Is this double agency or what? Also, as ODB said, Wu-Tang Clan is for the children. Sorry, Francis, not Facebook. Thank you, Roger Meadows. And old dirty bastard used to say that. Oh, baby, I like it raw. David Crow, finally getting a chance to catch your excellent live show Off the Road in Seattle. Hail Fiorella.
Hail Seattle.
Hail Seattle. Okay. You know, fam, my life is like a tube of toothpaste. You got to squeeze it all to get it all out. Shine the light. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. Thanks for the research. Thank you for the Super Ray. Shine the light. We really do appreciate it. Roger Meadows. 7 trillion was originally the number before it got knocked down to 3.5 for the reconciliation bill. They already came down. BIF bill and recon should have started at 20 trillion each. AOC squad can threaten not to lift the debt ceiling unless Joe issues an executive order for Medicare for all via Section 1881A of the Social Security Act. Take cannabis off Schedule 1 list. Forgive all student debt. Recall all military-grade weapons from police departments. Roger Meadows, you have hit it so much on the nose. You take the squad, you take the progressives, you stand aside and you go, we ain't going to do shit until you forgive student loan debt. That you cross your arms like this. We ain't voting on anything. We're going to hold press conferences for real until you take your fucking pen out and you forgive student loan debt. That alone, that's what, fam, is that not a compromise? Taking the smallest thing? I mean,
that would be pushing them. That would be forcing votes, but they can't really do that. So
they could. They won't. By executive order, they can cross their arms and say take cannabis off the fucking Schedule 1 list and release everybody who's sitting in fucking prison. A lot of people of color they claim to protect that are sitting in fucking prison for marijuana charges. Cross your arms and say we ain't doing dick until you fucking sign that and you take it off the Schedule 1 list and you release those people from prison who are sitting in fucking jail for years for fucking marijuana. Do it now or we ain't doing shit. The littlest things, they won't even give you the fucking crumbs, but they play the theatrics and act like, oh, you see the next move, fam. It's a two-party system. We have no choice but to align with Biden. And I think he's acting in good faith. I think he's a good partner. My fucking balls, you were put there to fucking disturb the establishment, not prop it up.
So, transitioning from Potts' balls into somebody who has been lacking them. And I say this as somebody that was a huge supporter. This is the last straw. I mean, this is just heartbreaking for so many people. Bernie Sanders. Huh?
In other words, you kick them out, you tell them get out of here, but you change the locks now. His keys don't work.
The locks are
He's done.
changed twice. He's done. I mean, I am just.
You got a dog in the front yard barking. Yeah, he's gone.
This is something I've been critical of everybody because we don't have anybody in Congress right now who is actually pro-Palestine, who has actually been fair on the issue. But Bernie Sanders was the most left in terms of that, as speaking out against the attacks on Gaza, which is crazy because he still believes in a two-state solution and he still, wasn't all the way there. But now Bernie Sanders will be voting yes on the Iron Dome. And this is because Chuck the Schmuck promised him that he will donate, I think it was $1 million or $1 billion in aid, I'll reconfirm in a minute, to Gaza, to Palestinians. So Bernie Sanders is saying yes on the Iron Dome, which will fund billions of dollars to $1 billion to Israel to continue protecting themselves and launching all these missiles that kill Palestinians, but then we'll bring aid and Band-Aids and gauze to Palestinians after they get bombed, I guess, right? Because that's essentially what's happening. So this is from Alex Kane. Bernie Sanders' office says he secured a commitment from Senator Chuck Schumer that the U.S. will send additional humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza. As a result, Sanders will vote yes on the extra $1 billion in Iron Dome funds for Israel's military. So
what a cuck. What a cuck. What aid?
Yeah.
How's it going to get there? What form? What's it going to be? Is it going to be in a bill? You should just say shit and these fucking shit libs buy it. Oh, Bernie said he's going to vote yes, but he's getting extra aid and the Palestinians really need it. Yeah. What fucking form are they getting this fucking aid? Where? How? When? Why? Give us fucking some solid fucking answers.
There's
no specifics.
But
you don't need specifics with these fucking shit libs to follow you, fam.
You're just going to take him on his word?
You fucking put a bumper sticker on there, and then they fucking buy it.
They fucking buy it. Okay, so Jewish Currents said Senator Sanders pushes a Gaza aid in exchange for yes vote on Iron Dome funds. The Senate's most prominent Israel critic will join the rest of the Democratic caucus in voting for aid for the anti-missile system. So I'm just going to read a little bit of it. So you guys know, because they pretty much outline what he says. He said a goal here is to make clear that it's no longer acceptable to keep sending billions in military aid to Israel without any debate and without any acknowledgement of the violence endured by Palestinians living under occupation and blockade. This is from Matt Duss, who is Sanders' foreign policy advisor, not a great foreign policy advisor, by the way. The move returns Sanders to a familiar role, that of the U.S. Senate's foremost advocate for increased aid for Gaza to address the territory's Israeli-imposed economic and humanitarian crisis, but it also serves as a reminder of the Palestinian rights movement's weak foothold in the Senate. Palestinian rights advocates have spent the past few weeks pushing progressives to vote no on Iron Dome funding, arguing that additional military aid fuels Israel's ability to carry out its policies of occupation and apartheid without facing accountability. Sanders, however, is not following their lead. In fact, it's unlikely any senator will vote no on the funding. No single senator is going to vote no on the Iron Dome. And in his letter to Schumer, Sanders portrayed his request for a $1 billion assistance for Gaza as a necessary counterweight to the U.S.'s overwhelming military support for Israel. And he said, if the goal of this supplemental funding is to help Israel replenish Iron Dome after the war that took place in May, it would be irresponsible if we do not at the same time address the enormous destruction and suffering that the war caused the Palestinians in Gaza.
The war.
He wrote.
The war.
Exactly. Just as we stand with the Israeli people's right to live in peace and security, we must do so for the Palestinian people as well. So you're not just standing for the Israeli people's right to live with peace and security. You're completely ignoring the fact that Israel's in occupation and they're putting Palestinians out of their houses. They're killing them in an open air prison. We should say things as they are, not as you would like them to be. Sanders' move is the latest development in the tumultuous debate over funding for Iron Dome, which the House of Representatives approved on September 23rd in a 420-9 vote. Let's remind you how awful that vote is, right? Only 9. The congressional debate pitted progressive legislators who questioned why the U.S. should provide another $1 billion for Iron Dome when the anti-missile system already received $73 million earlier this year, against Democratic Party leadership, who argued that the funding is critical to Israel's security. So the House bill on the Iron Dome is slated to vote soon. So they're going to vote on that House bill again, though it's unclear exactly when it will go to the Senate floor. Democratic leadership initially planned to fast track the bill via unanimous consent. This is what we talked about a couple weeks ago. But that plan was foiled by none other than Senator Rand Paul, who proposed an amendment that would fund the Iron Dome by redirecting aid earmarked for reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. Asked by the news outlet Jewish Insider about plans for the Iron Dome vote on Tuesday, Schumer said, "Talk to Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell. We have complete support on our side to pass by unanimous consent." They're literally Rand Paul, the fucking conservative libertarian, was the one who managed to get a vote on this bill without fast tracking it. When AOC was blaming it, oh, it's fast tracked, I can't do anything, and she was crying. Rand Paul is to her left when it comes to Israel-Palestine, which is fucking ludicrous. He's to the left of Bernie Sanders.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous.
Sana Sadiq, the manager of policy and advocacy campaign for the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, said, "The exchange of Iron Dome funding for urgent humanitarian aid is not an acceptable trade to make. We need to move towards ending weapons sales rather than sending them through without debate. Palestinians have asked Senator Sanders to divest from harm, and that means not sending further military funding to Israel, which they use to bomb Palestinians." Advocates also argue that funding of the type of Sanders has secured is insufficient to address the root causes of Gaza's devastation. Aid alone cannot help the people on the ground, said Jihad Absalim, a Palestinian from Gaza who is an education and policy associate of the Palestinian Activism Program at the American Friends Service Committee. Palestinians have been receiving aid for decades. What Palestinians need is to address the structural oppression and injustice that they experience because of decades of occupation and oppression by the state of Israel. And the Biden administration has sent $75 million to Palestinians so far this year and pledged $150 million to fund the UN RWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Yeah, okay, that's going to help the Palestinians. According to Sanders' office, Schumer committed to sending additional relief to Gaza. Schumer said in a statement to Jewish Currents that he looked forward to working with the Senator Sanders, other colleagues, and the administration to get needed humanitarian assistance consistent with existing statutory requirements to the Palestinian people. Though Sanders' letter proposes, this is the most important part, that the U.S. send the same amount, $1 billion, for Israel's anti-missile system and Gaza's rebuilding efforts, it's unclear what the total increase in aid to Gaza will be. So Sanders is getting no specifics. He's proposing that Schumer send $1 billion in aid to Gaza. Do you really think that these fucking Zionist Democrats are going to send $1 billion in aid to Gaza when they're giving billions in aid to Israel? Let's be serious here, right? That's not going to happen.
It's a fucking joke. This is a fucking
joke.
Like, stop. And here's the thing. I don't even understand how we can't, like, okay, I don't give a shit what side you stand on. First of all, we're not anti-Semitic. We're anti-Zionist. Let's lay that out there right now, okay? Yeah. That's what we're against. We're against the occupation. We're against not the war. This is one-sided over here. This is not a war. This is one side using stones and the other side getting bombed by fucking new technology and new missiles. So forget about it. Ridiculous. Why in the world do we, despite our feelings about what side is right or what's wrong, why do we have to fucking pay for it? I mean, where's the fiscal side on that? Why can't anybody get behind this fiscally and go, okay, listen, enough is enough. We got people here. We're giving, and I said this before, we're giving $1 billion now for a missile system, for a defense system, as they're going on the offense. And we got people dying and suffering on the streets here. You know what I'm saying? Israel has Medicare for all. They have free education. We don't have any of that stuff, and we're cracking them off money
to kill other people. Right?
This is a fucking joke, and it's not
Bernie
getting any
Sanders.
better. We're not getting any movement. We're going backwards, ladies and gentlemen. We're going backwards, and in enters Donald Trump, who now becomes one of the most pro-Israel presidents of all time, the state of Israel, the Zionists, once again. And now you got a bunch of people on the right, patriots, who are like, no, we got to stand up for Israel and stuff like that. Bullshit.
Yeah, that's how you know their team sports mentality is what this is all about. They agree when it comes to war and economics and keeping people down. That's that type of mentality where the neoliberals and the neocons come together. And I just wanted to point out a couple tweets. This is from Demand the Meal, Palestinian activists. I literally don't even know what to say. God fucking damn it. Bernie Sanders, this is probably the most heartbreaking thing you've done. Free Palestine from the river to the sea. And this other one was said by People versus Corrupt. Senator Sanders, fuck you. So a lot of people coming after Bernie Sanders, as they should be.
They're changing the lock too, fam.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy, by the way, people overlooked the fact that he was for, a two-state solution, the fact that he wasn't as strong as he could have been. Palestinians supported Bernie Sanders because he was the most left when it came to Israel-Palestine. Look what he's doing now, guys.
And Bernie Sanders
none
was not supportive of reparations. Just want to say that. Giving money to fucking Israel, but can't give money to the people who built this country. Just want to fucking point that out there, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's a trap question. No, it's not. It's
you
not.
Should have answered
we
it
give
better.
money to every fucking country out there. We give money and reparations to everybody except the fucking people who built this fucking country. It's not a trap question. Enough is enough. Why do we give money to everybody, but we can't take care of people in our own goddamn country?
It's insanity, fans. Okay, so I think we're ready for the next section. I don't see any super rays.
I don't either. So let's jump right into it, and let's be very careful.
Okay, we're going to be very careful. So just so you guys know, the vaccines are safe and effective. The CDC has said so, just in case you were wondering. So the KTLA has this article because while Sweden and other countries in the Netherlands are opening back up and saying, you know what, this virus is likely we're going to have to live with it. in the United States, things are getting actually much worse for people who are not vaccinated. So this is straight from KTLA 5. LA to require COVID vaccination proof for indoor restaurants, gyms, malls in one of the nation's strictest mandates. Okay. Los Angeles mayor, friend of the show, Eric Garcetti, signed a sweeping mandate Wednesday requiring proof of COVID-19 vaccination to enter a wide variety of indoor venues across the city. Under the ordinance passed by the LA City Council, full of progressives like Kevin De Leon, patrons aged 12 and older, 12 and older, will have to show proof of full vaccination at indoor areas, including restaurants, bars, gyms, movie theaters, convention centers, card rooms, museums, malls, play areas, spas, salons, and indoor facilities beginning November 4th. Hey, Timmy, how you doing? Timmy's 5. Can you please show me your vaccination card, Timmy, before you get on this playground? You're not allowed to play unless you pull your papers, Timmy. That's what's happening. It's one of the nation's strictest vaccine mandates, according to the Associated Press. The city's ordinance expands on a countrywide order that on Thursday will begin requiring proof of COVID-19 vaccination at indoor bars, wineries, breweries, nightclubs, lounges, and mega outdoor events. This is a countrywide order. To all of you, some of my friends who said, no, this is never going to happen. They would never do that. The federal government says it's for private businesses only. When you live in an oligarchy, there is no fucking separation. They're doing it. There are exemptions to the city's requirements. Those who self-attest to having a medical or religious reason for not getting vaccinated can instead provide a negative coronavirus test taking during the 72 hours before entering an indoor space. We'll see how long that lasts. Patrons who aren't vaccinated and don't qualify for an exemption can opt to use outdoor areas of the venues, and they can be allowed to briefly go inside the location to use the restroom. Oh, thank God. Order or pick up an item if they're masked. So we're going to have an unvaccinated section and a vaccinated section. Totally normal, right? Not like black water fountains and white water fountains. I don't know. Seems a little bit interesting.
This is the new Jim Crow. This is the new times. This is where we're at. And once again, LA, California, the shit lives here. That's why I'm pleasantly surprised and very happy to see what's going on in New York, where you have these anti-boop protests that are very diverse, people of all ages, across the board, whatnot. And what do we have here in LA? What do we have here in California? People cheering this shit on, literally cheering this shit on. There's a group, I know Johnny probably saw it too as well. There's a group out there. We used to go out there and support when in front of Garcetti's homes. Now actually pushing the same kind of fucking mentality when it comes to this shit. They're believing the super predators that put them on the fucking streets, that taken away their money, that evicted them from their houses, that have given them shit jobs and have grown and spiked the fucking homeless population. They're believing these people right here and doing their bidding and doing what they're told. You want to talk about a stupid fucking cuck society we have here? Wake the fuck up, people.
The vaccines are safe and effective, okay?
Oh, my bad. You're right.
Please do not spread disinformation on this channel, okay?
Sorry, my bad.
So no one is forcing anyone to get vaccinated, okay? This is what the LA City Council President Nuri Martinez said last week. But if you don't, there are certain things you will not be able to do without showing proof of vaccination, okay? So nobody's forcing you. That is true. The CDC is not forcing you. They're just doing everything they can to make it almost impossible for you to do it, but they're not forcing you because vaccines are safe and effective and the CDC said so. So this ordinance passed with an 11-2 vote, not unanimously, which means it was approved without the urgency clause. It's unclear whether that will delay when the vaccine proof requirement rules take effect. The city council was initially set to vote on the proposal last week, but it was postponed after mayoral candidate Councilman Joe Buscano withheld his vote over concerns about enforcement and that it could sow confusion since it differs from county rules. Buscano, along with the councilman John Lee, voted against the law on Wednesday. President Martinez, who introduced the motion, said there are still too many unvaccinated residents and that those who have been vaccinated, quote, deserve to go back to normal. So far, 69% of LA County Residents over the age of 12 are fully vaccinated, according to county data. So this is what Martinez said. We're getting tired of protecting people who do not want to protect themselves and get vaccinated. Some business owners said they were concerned about having to turn away customers while still recovering from an economic downturn. Duh. I feel like it's necessary, but it's definitely going to hinder some regular business procedures, said Curtis Park, owner of Coffee Memes Cafe in Silver Lake. I'm kind of happy, kind of worried. Of course he lives in Silver Lake. Venues can be issued a citation for not implementing the requirement and may be fined $1,000 for a second violation or more for subsequent violations, according to the city's ordinance. So some restaurants and bars throughout LA County had already started requiring customers to show proof that they are vaccinated against COVID-19 weeks ago. They already did that. I experienced that. That was wonderful on a date. And guests have been required to show vaccine proof at many large entertainment venues, like at the Hollywood Bowl. And so as of September 27, COVID-19 hospitalization and death both had declined by 45% from the months before. Officials said that while the declines are promising, the county still sees an average of 14 deaths a day. The reality is we're not back to normal, Furrer said, adding that the city cannot wait until the spread is high again before acting. So the vaccine requirement rules will stay in effect until the city's emergency declaration for COVID-19 is lifted. So again, that's what's happening. I read pretty much the whole article because they literally tell you how wonderful everything is. And again, to reiterate what the article said, decline. There's a decline. It's actually the lowest it's been forever.
Yeah.
So when we talk about this, Pasta,
easy.
Just make sure you're not.
I'm not saying anything. Let's actually just continue to move on with the section because I'm going to lose my shit right now. And I don't want to point out this information.
Well, we can lose our shit in the Rokfin only stream that we're going to do.
Later on, we will be losing our shit in the Rokfin podcast because I don't want to say anything here because censorship, it's what's for dinner and it's real. So please, let's just tell us with this handsome Canadian Prime Minister loving
dreamboat
Justin Trudeau. How do these people still run this fucking country?
Though.
How does Macron and Joe Biden still fucking get on TV and get to spew their fucking bullshit? How?
So, breaking, Canada's Prime Minister announces new mandates, includes all federal workers and all travelers by train or by plane, 12 years and up, pledges to roll out Vax Passport digital ID. Let's hear what our handsome man has to say.
Chrystia has outlined what the mandatory vaccination that's in place immediately for federal employees will look like. The bottom line, proof of vaccination will be required by no later than the end of this month for all federal employees. And by mid-November, enforcement measures in place will make sure that everyone is vaccinated. This is about keeping people safe on the job and in their communities. And the same goes for the second commitment we made, mandatory vaccination on travel. By the end of October, everyone 12 or older on a plane or train within Canada should be fully vaccinated. But by the end of November, if you're 12 or older and want to fly or take the train, you'll have to be fully vaccinated, as will staff. Testing will no longer be an option before boarding. Done the right thing and gotten vaccinated, you deserve the freedom to be safe from COVID-19, to have your kids safe from COVID, to get back to the things you love. And if you haven't gotten your shots yet but want to travel this winter, let's be clear. There will only be a few extremely narrow exceptions, like a valid medical condition. For the vast majority of people, the rules are very simple. To travel, you've got to be vaccinated. These travel measures, along with mandatory vaccination for federal employees, are some of the strongest in the world. Because when it comes to keeping you and your family safe, when it comes to avoiding lockdowns for everyone, this is no time for half measures. Already, we're delivering on the first of our vaccine commitments, and in the weeks to come, we'll get the job done on a vaccine passport for international travel, will be there to foot the bill for provinces and territories that roll out proof of vaccination programs, and will introduce legislation to make it a criminal offense to threaten or harass healthcare workers.
Okay, so I know
How?
that Costa.
Why? I can't say anything because if I say anything, we'll fucking get this information.
So
just
okay, so no wait. So just looking at this from the lens of somebody that what he said, based on what he said, it will now be a criminal offense if you are not vaccinated and you oppose and you choose to somehow fight it and you lose. That will be a criminal offense. This is going to be necessary for traveling, for getting anywhere. A lot of people have said we have had vaccine mandates before. That is factually untrue. Not like this. Not like this. You have had mandates of polio to get into school, right? To get into school and go to school as a child, but never for grocery stores, for travel, for any sort of restaurant, entertainment venue, none of this stuff. The language he's using could seem divisive in certain terms of how he's saying, enough with these people who choose not to do this. People deserve their freedom if they choose to do what the CDC says they should do, which is that vaccines are safe and effective and all of this. I think they're going to have to come to terms with some sort of pushback because it's really going to hurt businesses from a small business aspect, from a company aspect. I think this is going to collapse a lot of the economy. And that's all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to leave my criticisms for later on. But I do want to say that people who live in Canada right now should be absolutely on alarm that this is a little bit intense, because they're not just using the mandates, they're using the passport, which is the digital passport, which is what we've been talking about. So yeah, so
gonna leave it at that.
To look at that.
Yep, gonna leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, remember later on today, whether it be in a couple hours, we got to wait. We got to have a special guest on. Dr. McCullough will be on with us, and we'll be talking a lot of things on Rokfin only. Unfortunately, we have to watch what we have to say here, because any type of opinion might be used against us simply for just giving our opinion. So therefore, I'm just gonna halt on saying that stuff, and just remember that when we talk about that later, because we will. In fact, I'm going to play that clip later on Rokfin, and we will discuss that a little bit more further down the road over there. Go ahead, fam.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So Sweden halted the use of Moderna COVID vaccine in people under 30, right? So meanwhile, this is happening in the United States and Canada. Sweden is actually loosening up any sort of mandate. So Sweden's public health agency on Wednesday recommended a temporary halt to the use of Moderna COVID-19 vaccine among young adults, citing concerns over rare side effects to the heart. This is Sweden's public health agency cited concerns, not anybody else. It said that the pause should initially be enforced until December 1st, explaining that it had received evidence of an increased risk of side effects such as inflammation of the heart muscle, myocarditis, and inflammation of the pericarditis. The public health agency has decided to pause the use of Moderna's vaccine, Spikevax, for everyone born 1991 and after, for cautionary reasons. The agency said in a statement, adding that those groups should instead receive the Pfizer/BioNTech vaccine. According to the agency, the risk seemed especially tied to the second doses of Moderna vaccine. It was more prevalent among young men and boys and in the weeks just following the second jab. The symptoms usually pass by themselves, but should be evaluated by a doctor, it added. In June, the US FDA said it was adding a warning to both Pfizer and Moderna vaccines after the CDC advisory panel said data suggested a, quote, likely association between the vaccines and rare cases of myocarditis in adolescents and young adults. Despite the warning, doctors and researchers say they still strongly recommend that all Americans 12 and older get vaccinated, noting the heart problems are uncommon and in most cases very mild. So, so two separate vaccine studies, though, subsequently concluded that the COVID-19 itself poses a higher risk of symptoms, including heart inflammation, than the vaccines. And those who are vaccinated recently with their first or second dose of Moderna vaccine don't need to feel worried because the risk is very minor, but it is good to know which symptoms you should be on the lookout for, said epidemiologist Anders Tegnell in a statement. Some 81,000 people in the age group have already received the first jab in Sweden, but they will not be offered a second, the agency said, adding that discussions were ongoing about the best solution for this group. The European Medicine Agency, EMA, authorized the emergency use of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for teens in July. So that is what's happening in Sweden. It's also happening in Denmark as well. And this is from Dr. Robert W. Malone. And he got it from Sweden, the latest from Sweden. This is from the, I think, website on coronavirus in Sweden. And it just pretty much says Sweden will not give Moderna to young people. Swedish health authorities have temporarily stopped the vaccination for people born in 1991 and later. So there you go. And so it says, as of September 28th of this year, the Norwegian Medicines Agency had received 254 reports of inflammation of the heart among Norwegian vaccinated people. So Assistant Director of Health Espen Nakstad tells NRK that they will follow up on the issues in Norway. So again, so this is Norway is following up, and more people are following up on that. I was just going to read that.
Yeah.
And anything to say on that, fams, before?
Nope. The AP Europe.
Yep. So the AP Europe has also said that Denmark is following along with this whole trend where they're looking at now these side effects. So Sweden suspended the use of Moderna vaccine for 30 and under. In Denmark, people under 18 won't be offered the Moderna shot. So if you're over 18, you will still be offered it, but people under 18 will not be offered this Moderna shot. So that's Denmark as well. So you got Norway, Sweden, Denmark. And I just also wanted to point out this before we end this segment. We're getting close. Oh, okay. Let's see. It's getting okay. The Intercept, right? And I will just destroy them in a minute. But the Intercept is very anti horse paste medication, ivermectin, because the CDC has not approved ivermectin for COVID-19. And you should know that because, this drug that's been used for decades is it's hailed as a horse paste medication. And a lot of people have supposedly been getting poisoned from it. And it's just been, just bad, hailed as bad. Molnupiravir, the new medicine, is being hailed as a huge advance in the treatment of COVID-19, right? And according to The Intercept, this costs $17.74 to produce, according to a new report. And Merck is charging the US government $712 for the same amount of medicine, or 40 times the price. So they do this whole article on how Merck is selling federally financed COVID pill to the US at 40 times what it costs to make. That's what Big Pharma does. Big Pharma does this all the time. The left is against Big Pharma unless it's COVID related. And so now the Intercept is finally covering a pill for COVID that's not ivermectin, that is chemically extremely similar. There are a very, very few differences, and that is costing so much more to make. It's interesting how they maligned ivermectin and how they are saying this drug is good. We just need to make it cheaper. Well, your problem there is Big Pharma. They're not going to make it cheaper. I'm not going to read my tweets. You guys can see it yourselves, right? Nice of the Intercept to finally report on horse-paste ivermectin.
Yeah, but they do this shit all the time, fam. They give you something of significance, and then they do the bait and switch. So they'll lead you back into the darkness once they give you a little bit of truth to get you walking in the door. It's just like anything else. Look at this over here. This is yummy. Okay. And as soon as you get in there, that's not what I ordered. So that's what they do. They do this shit all the time. Sometimes they do it to get ahead of stuff because there's too much fucking news out there and there's too much information right now. And I think that's what they're a victim of right now is getting caught with their pants down and now trying to get ahead of a story because they played from behind, frankly. So.
Yeah. 100%. And that's the end of that section, fams. That's the end of the show. Let's read some super.
Yeah, guys. And And it's not that I was hurrying along that section. It's just I don't want to say anything whatsoever because the censorship is mad real, guys, right now. Yeah. And I mean, literally, they're just going through and they're nitpicking every little thing. So please come back with us either in an half hour or an hour and a half or an hour. We're going to get our guest on. We're going to do a Rokfin only. We also have a COVID section over there. We'll be talking more stuff. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll bring back our handsome man north of the border, Mr. Justin Trudeau. Oh, my God, when he smiles, he just makes my heart palpitate. We'll get his little thing, and we'll break that down, too, as well. We just can't do it now, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you understand that. So we're going to read some Super Rays and get out of here for a little while. Fam, what is that?
Johnny just gave me the stick. It looks like a coronavirus.
Yeah, but it looks like a mace ball that medieval that you hit people over the head with those things.
Is this Peruvian? Oh, I don't know. Johnny's just being silly.
Johnny's being Johnny. Roger Meadows is also being silly, but he says they can use a talking point just saying Israel has enough of our money already. They don't need any more of our money to continue with their military adventures. We need that money here to provide health care and build up our infrastructure. Come on. What reasonable American except Sarah Silverman would argue with that? Thank you, Roger Meadows. That was amazing. 3-chord drifter. You guys have really helped during this time. Thank you. And 3-chord drifter, those are the comments that really fucking mean a lot to us. Huh?
It's 3-chord grifter.
My bad. 3-chord grifter. Not High Plains drifter. 3-chord grifter. Thank you so much. Those comments do mean a lot to us. We do appreciate it. That's why we do what we do over here for reasons of that nature. Rob McMurtry. Thank you for the Super 8 contribution, fam. It is always appreciated on the couch. And Benny Massimo, Gay Fi. Benny, how you doing, brother? Great to see you. Great to hear from you. Excellent job on pointing out that this whistleblower is an establishment tool. Since when does the mainstream media embrace a whistleblower? When they are pushing the establishment agenda. Benny, you got it right on the nose. Thank you guys so much. 244 people watching over on YouTube. 94 watching on the Rokfin. We need to double that. Get people ready.
Yep.
Get people listening. I think we should probably come on YouTube just to say we're going to go to Rokfin only. Can we do that, Oz, when we get back started? We'll do that when we get started. Johnny and Oz will take care of that. Guys, this is just a pause, like the gain of function testing. Just a pause. 2014 to 2017, the great pause. We're going to pause now. We're going to get a guest on. We're going to have a great Rokfin exclusive. Thank you so much to Johnny Fee, myself, and Oz for handling and holding us down. We know it's a long show, but we got more to give you today. Right, fams?
Right, fams.
For Pasta Jardula.
Fiorella.
Johnny, Sue, and Oz on the ones and twos.
Convo out. We'll be back.
We'll be back soon.